Welcome, friends. Welcome to today's Reconsider It live stream. This live stream you're gonna see all day. And here on this live stream, you are gonna get hour of some improvised live looping. All vocals, such as what you're hearing so far. Everything is all vocals so far. I'm gonna be building up this beat with some more vocals. Oh my goodness. Probably bring in the synth as well. Probably be talking about who knows what you're gonna get here in this exclusive studio session. It's called Tinker regulars know what it is. Speaking of my regulars, we have got and the crazy are new to the Reconsider It live streams, welcome! You made the right decision joining us. We want you here. It's so much better with you here. And while we are here in this warm-up phase, my friends, I need to celebrate. Thank you for being here. Whether you are here with us live in the chat, whether you are here with us live but you are not in the chat, whether you are here with us after the live, you are with us on replay. However it is that you are here with us, thank you for being here. I am going to celebrate you at this time in this way. I have got my drink. I am going to count to 3 and I'm going to clink. You are invited to join the rest of us as we cheers along and celebrate our togetherfulness. My friends, it begins on a 1, a 2, 1. Cheers, my friend. Oh, that's good. That's the good stuff that I like. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Please share this video. Please leave a comment. Friends, we have got a Tinker stream. We have got a Tinker stream on our hands, and this is a very good thing. I just realized. My loopers are currently set. To snap to B major, as I have here on the bottom of the screen. Where is it? Right there. B major. There it is. And on the keyboard, I just realized I've been trying to play B flat major. This or something very similar has happened before. It was either this exact problem, playing B flat when it should have been playing B, or some other one-off like that. In any case, it certainly happened right now. Another thing that has happened right now is that the man himself, Marky, has joined us, which is a great and glorious blessing. In any case, now I got to say, oh wait, no, it wasn't B flat. Oh no, it wasn't B flat. I believe I was using that as a reference point. I may be recalling incorrectly because, you know, I'm a little disoriented right now. How could I have possibly hit a one-off error? And the same thing has happened before. In any case, what is B? Okay. All right. That would explain why. There it is, yeah. I have a B flat as my bass line. I'm like, why is this not lining up right? Because everything's in B. Or at least the top looper is. The bottom looper is not tuned in any way. a little better. Yes. Okay, this sounds so much better. Okay, good. As I say, something like that has happened before. It might have been exactly the same thing as today. Everything was tuned to B, but I was playing B flat, and because the key of B flat is present in the B major scale, it snapped to B flat. And it was like, you got it. B flat it is. Alright, I'm glad I got that re-recorded here. That's also going to make it nice for improvising on the keyboard down here too. I recently did a track that was in either B flat or B, and it had a similar sense of like something's off. It may have been the same thing that happened the other day too. I don't know. But I know this has happened like at least once, you know, on the scale of weeks or months ago or something. I don't know. Having recently, my regulars know that I recently got into the most beginner levels of synthesis using VCV. VCV, if you don't know, VCV is like a software simulator of, what do they call it, Eurorack? I don't know if that's the right word. But a software simulator of just like a hardware synthesizers with, you know, individual components that either is an oscillator or it's, you know, what do they call, ADSR? Is that what it's called? I guess it would be ASDR. Is that what it is? No, it's ADSR. An ADSR filter. All these things I'm learning that I never heard of before. Anyway, because of that stuff, because like a month or two ago, I started exploring just the most beginnerist, you know, baby's first synthesis, first day of 101. I learned a little bit. But because of that little bit I've learned, it's already impacting, positively impacting. Oh, that sounds so much better. Positively impacting my looper stuff and how I use the Hydrasynth. So like right now, for example, I'm able to go through this particular patch, or this voice, I guess, or whatever the word is. And I can say, oh, look, there's 3 oscillators going in. And I have a sense of what that means now. I'm like, oh, I get it. You know, the sound is being generated by these 3 sources. I can look at the mixer, then I can go start messing with individual oscillators. I have a much better sense of what all this means and what I'm doing here. Anyway, I'm not going anywhere with that. Just, hey, FYI, this is cool. It's cool how I'm learning stuff and it's carrying over in a positive way, even into other areas that I was not directly, you know, intending or expecting to have any kind of benefits. But by having learned this other thing, it's carrying over in these nice ways. I'm getting caught up on the chat here. There's just a lot gone by. I haven't really been close in touch with the chat. Close in response, let me say. I think I'm caught up. Sounds like things are in a cool, okay state. Oh, I'm so glad that I realized this one-off error, that I was playing in B flat when I should have been playing in B. It's much good. Much good. I may want to re-record the bass anyway. It's not the greatest thing I've ever heard, but at least it makes a lot more sense now, which is good. I like things when they make a lot more sense. It's good when things make a lot more sense. Milo says I should keep going with the healthy food. Oh, I'm so glad I redid that bass. Oh my goodness. You know, I was just thinking the other day, am I doing some kind of... Am I adhering properly to live stream etiquette? Should I or should I not eat during a live stream? I was thinking about that the other day. Like 1 or 2 live streams ago that occurred to me when I was reflecting later that day. By the way, do you do that? Do you reflect on your day? Do you, like, you know, not necessarily at a specific time of day, not necessarily reflect about specific things or anything, but do you do that? Do you reflect at all? Let me know in a comment. I'm curious about how many or how prevalent that is. I know it's not something that everybody does, but I'm curious what portion of people do. It probably varies per all sorts of, you know, age groups or even like cultural upbringing. The majority of people are just the product of their culture. Not everyone. There are plenty of, you know, individuals who become themselves and they would have been themselves regardless of what culture they're in. Those people exist. But most, you know, strictly percentage-wise, the majority of people are just a product of their culture. In terms of their priorities, their interests, you know, the culture side of things is what I mean. Their cultural interests are a product of the culture they came in. Like that's a more complete expression of the thought I'm trying to express. Not that the person as a whole is a product of their culture, but just the cultural dimension of the person. Most people, what, 80, 90%? I don't know, some high percentage. And so it'll vary a lot who and how much they reflect on a regular basis. To what depth you reflect. You know, maybe you have a daily reflection that's not terribly, you know, probing. Maybe you just reflect sort of superficially even, on just some simple things that happened that day. But then occasionally, annually, once a year, you have a more serious, soul-searching type reflection. How are things going? Are you spending your time in the right way? Are you moving in the right direction? And whatever that means. So I'm curious if you do that. Man, I have had a weekend. Whew. Whew. Oh, right, we were talking about food. I had a lot of pizza yesterday. I have not been eating healthy food. But today I'm having this. What is this, a Waldorf? Is that what they call it? There's not much left. It's leftovers. I think this is called a Waldorf salad, ? Where it's got spinach and raw spinach, that is. Just raw spinach leaves and diced apples, and it's got grapes and walnuts, and I think there's celery in here. It's really good. Now that's much healthier than having pizza. But like I said, I was curious, or I was reflecting the other day, 1 or 2 streams ago. I was reflecting on whether I should be eating during a live stream. Like, while I am streaming, should I be eating or should I not eat? So I reflected on that, and I'm going to keep reflecting on that. But nonetheless, I do like the topic of food. So that's likely to come up. Oh, you know what? There's another topic. There's another thing that I meant to bring up at some point, but I never have, so I'm going to bring it up now before I forget. But with the help of an AI assistant, I've compiled a relatively concise list. I've compiled a concise list of tinker topics, like things that come up for discussion or things I would like to discuss on Tinker streams or other streams whenever you tune in here at your favorite online hangout. And I think it got it down to like 7 topics or something. So I might briefly share those 7 topics at some point in some stream. I'm going to see if I can pull it up right now, actually. I don't know if it's going to be easy to... Okay. It looks like I do actually have access to do it, so I'm going to share it right now. Here was my AI-assisted summary. Because I had been keeping track of topics that either came up during Tinker streams or other streams. I had been keeping track of them, and I also sometimes, not always, but I would sometimes make a note in the list for something I wanted to talk about. And I wound up keeping track of them in 2 separate locations because I had a very brilliant note-taking system, I guess. And after a while, both of the lists got really long, but they were also largely redundant because they were, I'm one person making the list twice. So they weren't totally redundant. They were 2 separate lists, but there was a large overlap between them. And so I was like, ah. And then I just asked AI, I was like, please, I have this giant, extremely verbose list of things. Please help me reduce this, summarize it. And so it did. And, what is it? 6 topics. 6 topics, and then also a miscellaneous category. So that's where the 7 that I said earlier came from. So anyway, here are the topics. Let's see, what does it say? These are things that I either like to talk about or want to talk about or have been a good topic of discussion previously. One of them is the idea of book knowledge versus real knowledge. Oh, how do you like that? The idea of like what a person knows comes from what they live and experience, what they put into application, what they can create, what kind of problems they can solve. That's what you really know, as opposed to like facts and philosophies and hypothetical ways of thinking and, things like that. Let me talk about this, hypothetical, socio-political, it's like, oh my goodness, please. So that was one broad area, and there's a whole bunch of sub-bullets in there. Including an interesting one that I like to talk about when I have the opportunity, which is the idea of doing your own research is, you can't. It's not a possible thing to do. Do your own research. From what? The pool of information that is already in itself skewed. So it's like you have very, very limited access to anything. We have very limited access to, like, really anything at all. So maybe it's a better way to say it is limited. There's a visible limit to what you can accomplish or achieve by doing your own research. And even if you don't take the pessimistic view that I just shared, that the information you look at is limited, skewed, you don't really have access to raw data. At best, you have access to curated data. That's my pessimistic take. But even if you're not that pessimistic, and you assume that we have all the access to all the knowledge, like, as a layperson, I don't really know what to do with some data set of raw data. If I were to look at, all of the pure research, and, the research itself was never adulterated or anything. All of the research for, vitamin B12, like, I would have no idea what to do with all of that data. So doing your own research as a concept, it's just very limited. And so that was one of the little minor points inside this broader topic of what is knowledge, what is real knowledge and such. Another topic here, another broad area of discussion is subjective judgment and bias. And that does include the sort of trendy topic these days. It's, as we record this, it's August 2nd, 2026. For the past 5 to 10 years or so, it's been kind of a trendy topic, at least in the United States. This idea of biases, including subconscious biases, and the psychological basis for that. And by the way, to be clear, I recognize the validity of this topic of subconscious biases and things. That's 100% real. And so all I'm saying is that topic of these like psychological biases, that's part of what this broader area here in my Tinker topics of judgment and bias, subjective judgment and bias. It includes the idea of psychological biases, but it also includes the idea that most people, like anyone without special training, just the normal natural default of a human, most people don't really think. And I don't mean that as a disparaging comment in any way. What I mean is, thinking is it's very much not something that spontaneously comes out of a person without special training or without, some kind of maybe traumatic circumstances that force somebody to get really inward in all of this. What most people believe is thinking, really that's them just free associating in their own memories, in their own perspective, and their own cultural upbringing and all this. Most of the time, most people, most average layperson. That's all I'm talking about. They don't really do critical thinking and like very rigorous reasoning. And that's what I'm talking about when I say thinking. Critical thinking, reasoning, careful deduction. That's not what happens. What happens is just more of like a feeling-based leaping from one experience to another. You have a question and you have sort of a leaping to what feels good or what feels familiar. And you do this sort of feeling-based leaping. And that's not thinking. Hey, why does everybody in this town wear blue shirts? Well, because that's the thing to do. You wake up, you put on a blue shirt, and then you go out in the world and you're wearing a blue shirt. I thought that through very carefully. First you wake up, the next thing you do is you put on a blue shirt, and then you go out and you're wearing a blue shirt. That's not thinking. And so that's all this point is. This broad area of discussion is more like, most of the time, even the best trained people, it's not like you can do that 24/7. It's a very unnatural state for a human mind to do this thinking operation. Thinking is like a start, think for a task, and then stop. That's what thinking is. It's like it's a thing you do. It's like tensing a muscle. Some people think more than others. Some people think on a regular basis, and so they're sort of, if you will, they strengthen the muscle of thinking, quote unquote. But it's still a muscle. Milky gets to the real point of like why I'm talking about this. And that's the groupthink. That's something that I'm very much not cool with. I dislike groupthink a lot. And groupthink comes from what I'm talking about now. It comes from the part of the human mind that's like, thinking is not really a natural thing you spontaneously do for extended periods. And when most people believe they are thinking, all they're really doing is just regurgitating programming. They're just like reviewing their programming. That's what most people believe is called thinking. And groupthink is exactly that. It's like you're just going along with what you've been told. You're just going along with look at all the social proof for this. Seems like everyone else is doing it. It's so weird to me because when I was growing up in the 80s, back in the 80s, good old 1980s, it was really uncool to have groupthink. Like, that was like one of the main not cool things in my cultural upbringing, was this idea of think for yourself, not necessarily question authority, but think for yourself. Do the act of thinking yourself. And so that was a major point of cultural upbringing for me. So I'm very inclined to look at the modern day, August 2026, the modern day, like, very large increase in groupthink. Now everybody knows where it came from. Modern day groupthink has come from social media, because the social consequences of doing something wrong, if you do it online, the consequences are far greater. And so with younger generations spending their social time online and being socialized online, from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, or, you know, whatever other Reddit and whatever other forums, people these days, the most recent generations coming up, have been very much socialized with a very large public view. People who grew up when I did, in the 80s, we were kind of the last generation. We were the last generation of people who had, you know, like your peer group of who would see you mess up. That was at most maybe a couple hundred people, depending on how big your school was. Your peer group, when you're 12, the people who would see you mess up and then give you a hard time the next day, maybe at most a couple hundred, probably not even. But the past couple generations, people who've grown up as of, let's say, maybe the 20 teens, I'm just roughly guessing, but that's when they would have grown up on social media. They grew up with a lot more than a couple hundred people seeing their actions and mistakes. Technically, it's, you know, billions. But even if you just say, like, the people who look at their social media posts, it's still probably, like, many tens or hundreds of thousands. And so they have a lot more fear, which, you know, the younger generations do. They're worried about, you know, the end of the world, global warming and all this, or I guess climate change, I should say. Or other just, you know, hostilities between nations. But what that means is the way they act is much more likely to have a groupthink aspect to it. That's where I'm going with all this. If you grow up on TikTok and that's the primary way you interact with people is through a social media platform, it's going to push the majority of people more strongly toward a more fierce groupthink type of attitude, which ultimately winds up having more fierce tribalistic behavior. And we're observing a lot more of that behavior as that younger generation, as that generation of people who were being socialized in the 20 teens They were the ones growing up on Facebook and such. And now they're in what, their 20s? I don't know. But you see more groupthink, including, you know, behavior that could be, whether this is hyperbole or literal, behavior that is more mob-like, whether hyperbole or literal. But that is something we observe more of, including violence, including this, like, social media also has this propensity to make people outraged, because what gets pushed most is the stuff that gets attention, and what gets attention is outrageous stuff. So there's this, like, never before in human history has there been this force, like, in your own pocket that will just warp your mind into this, like, very intense tribalistic groupthink, hate-oriented, violence-oriented attitude. That's not happened before in human evolution. And so we don't know if it has. We have no record of that happening. Maybe it has and it erased itself. But we certainly have it now. And what that means is, because it hasn't been part of human history and human evolution, the majority of people aren't prepared for it. And they can't manage it, they can't handle it. And most people are becoming groupthink at this time. By the way, I like to bring up, my song, Did You See It, is about exactly this topic. Precisely this topic that I've been talking about for the past 2 or 3 minutes. The idea that social media and groupthink and, you know, violent tribalistic attitude, that whole topic, that's what my song Did You See It is about. And I'm going to go grab it and I'm going to throw it in the chat. Hold on. All right, I've put it into the chat. I'm gonna pin it in the chat as well, at least on YouTube. I do have a Twitch stream going. But my regulars know that YouTube is really the place to be. That's where we have actual activity and conversation and such. Anyway, that song, Did You See It? More ostensibly, it's about, did you see it? Did you see, like, the first couple lyrics? Did you see it? Did you see the latest outrage in my feed? That's the first line. So it's about social media, even though I'm never so crude as to sit there and, like, tell you that the song is about social media in the song. So you're not going to hear the word social media in the song, but that's what it's about. Did you see this outrageous thing in my feed? Let's go start a war with our neighbors. That's what the song is. So it's pretty dope. I think it's, you know, it was the final song that I did as like a full-blown rap song. Since then, I haven't really done a lot of rap, and the rap I've done has just been maybe 5 to 10 songs that are just a 16-bar verse, rather than a full-blown, 3 verses and choruses and all that. But this was the final song I did that was full-blown, multiple verses and a chorus. So that one's really dope. You're going to like that if you haven't heard it. And if you have heard it, then you're also going to like it anyway. Whether you've heard it does not have an impact on whether you're going to like it. So anyway, I'm still getting caught up on the chat here from earlier. Wabbit has a pretty hilarious comment here. For the majority of my life, even going back to when I was really short, I've brought up topics that elicit this response from people. That they're like, wow, that's cool. Okay, let's move on. Sometimes it doesn't really matter that much, and it's something I didn't really care about. Other times it's a topic that matters a lot to me. And there are even some topics that to this day I haven't had the satisfactory conversations that I need to have with a sincere conversation partner. And so I have these lingering, unresolved intellectual needs. I'm still getting caught up on the chat here, and we've only gotten through the first 2 of the Tinker topics. We got 6, and I got to keep going down the list and see what else is in there. I reviewed it earlier, but I didn't memorize it, and I haven't looked at it for a couple weeks. As Wabbit says here, should I update the live stream series name from Tinker Time and instead call it Clink and Think? I'd like that personally. Clink and Think. I do have to wrestle with the question of like exactly what is the character of my channel on YouTube anyway, or Twitch as well, but I'm thinking right now about YouTube. What exactly is the nature of my channel, or the character of my channel? Because, like, for example, I am not, I know at least something I'm for sure not. I am not a, like, synth gear channel. There are some channels where primarily what they do is they'll either demo or they'll talk about or they'll more formally review. They'll be like, here's the, whatever piece of gear Mark II. And so you could say that the character or the content of that channel is, oh, this is like a gear channel, and then they can, position their marketing and their channel image and their channel summary, and they can do all that. And they can say, here's what the channel's about specifically, and they can get more focused and kind of move forward with a business plan, so to speak. I don't know exactly what my channel's character or purpose is, other than my sketchpad, which is why it's currently called Reconsider Its Music Sketchpad. It's just kind of my place where I go to mess around informally with music. But is that just for me, or is that something that is for others? If so, exactly what is the service? And if that is something for others, if that's a service for others, I would like to somehow concentrate that in a way that enables me to be more productive with giving you value. And so I sometimes think about that. Clink and think. Is it of value to have a place to go to think deeply about things and to consider things from another angle that you hadn't thought? Is that of value? If so, how do I market that more effectively? For example, what do you say? Come up with a motto. Currently, the opening to each live stream is pretty long. Each live stream of mine, it's pretty long. It's like a solid 4 or 5 minutes or more of just, hey, welcome to the stream. You are gonna get, improv looping, and let's do a cheers moment. And it goes on for a while. Could I optimize that? Could I come in and be like, short tagline that targets exactly what this channel is about? 10 seconds, got you hooked in. Now let's move on to the real content. I would like to be able to do something like that. But you can only optimize in that way when you have a very clear definition of who is your audience, what service are you providing, only when those things are very clearly defined. And right now for me, all I've got is, this is my sketch pad that I like for my reasons. But it's not clear if there's value for you. It's not clear to me what exactly I should emphasize more to give you more value. I know I have gotten some overwhelming feedback. To some degree, I have gotten a very, very clear signal that you like it when I rap. So that, I think, is pretty clear. How can I use that? How can I target that a little better? I am trying to introduce rap a little more. I'm working on a rap song right now in the background, outside of live streams. Outside of live streams. It's almost done, actually. Almost written. And then after it's written, I still need to record it and then mix it. But that's easy. Then make a music video out of it. That part's easy. The writing the rap is the time-consuming part. Everything else is just procedural. You get through it pretty quickly. For me, writing rap there's often, or I should say more generally, writing lyrics. Writing lyrics in a very structured manner. That's very time-consuming because I'm exploring new area, new territory that is not already present in my mind. I'm exploring the resolution to something that doesn't already have a resolution. So I have to think about things from different angles, and I have to figure out exactly what I want to say next, and I have to reflect on each line and think Is this me expressing something as a problem? In other words, not being constructive? Or is this me being constructive? I want to be constructive. I want to be helpful. In whatever limited time I have left, I want to contribute good. I'm still getting caught up on the chat from like 5 minutes ago. Maybe we can call it overthinking and chill. My Logify says, do you game? I would say the answer is not really, but I like gaming. I don't really have time to game, but I like it. I recently was introduced to Steam, so I'm a Steam beginner, but I like what I've seen so far on Steam. I have a Wii. That's the newest console I have, is a Wii. And what the original Wii that also plays GameCube games. And on my Wii, I'm in the middle of, and by middle I mean like 75-80% done with Metroid Prime 2, which is like the Dark Ether or whatever it's called. I don't know. Echoes, maybe? So I'm almost done with that game. I was thinking about replaying Resident Evil 4 because This World Needs a Hero was just playing that the other day. And I was already thinking about replaying that game. And I'm like, whoa. So now the coincidence meter is pushing it up for me. I have thought about introducing gaming as a type of live stream. I have thought about that. And that is very much on the table still. So you might see me do some gaming on live streams at some point. That is possible. If so, it would probably be me playing my old Wii games, or maybe Steam. Speaking of speaking of gaming, rather, is what I meant. There's a band that you should check out. I may have spoken of them before on live streams. I'm not sure if I have. But they're dope, so it may absolutely have come up before. But the band that you should check out related to gaming is called Bit Brigade. Check out Bit Brigade. They are... They're like live instruments. They're a band. They're a rock band. But they play games. They play the music from games on their instruments. But wait, there's more. While somebody speed runs the game. So they have an extra band member who doesn't have, a bass guitar or playing drums. That extra band member is the guy playing the video games, the guy speed running the game. So like right now, Bit Brigade is on tour in the United States playing Mega Man X. So they're playing all the levels. The speedrunner goes through starts the game, picks the first Mega Man level, and they're playing the music while he plays the game. And then he beats it, he speed runs it. Pretty soon they're switching their tour and they're going to be playing Mega Man 2. I think they're playing another game as well. I don't know, maybe Castlevania or something. I don't know. But it's awesome. It's an awesome live show. I've seen them a couple of times. Bit Brigade. They're awesome. It's totally worth checking out. If they're coming to a town near you, you should very much go. It's an awesome experience. And by the way, the guy speed running the game is like they have a projector. They put it up. You watching it. So you're gonna watch this guy speed run the game while they play the music from it on guitar, bass, drum set. It's awesome. It's extremely high quality, multi-dimensional entertainment. It's a very good live show to check out. It's not as cool. Let me phrase it like this. It's cooler to see that live in person than it is to, watch a video of their live show. You watch a video of their live show, you'd be like, oh yeah, that is pretty impressive. But to see them do it right there, that's the dope shit. Anyway, to answer Milo here on the bottom of the screen, do I like gaming? I like gaming, but I often don't have time to invest much time in gaming. Wabbit says, doesn't Recon talk about comics? Oh, yes, he does. Are you going to get me started on comics? We got right now, what I'm most into these days is either the live action movies and TV shows, or just TV show adaptations, whether they're live action or cartoon or whatever. That's what I'm mostly into these days when I say comic stuff. I often don't have enough time to read comics that like I would want to. They just stack up. I got this gigantic stack over there. It's got to be hundreds of comics that I bought, but I haven't yet read them. They're just stacking. Okay, issue, Detective Comics 1012. Here's 1013, 1014, 1015. But I like comics, yeah. I'm confident that that's on the list that AI helped me build. Milky says, I wish we had a Discord. I have a Discord. If we're friends on Discord, just send me, I don't know, a message saying, invite me to your Discord. We absolutely have Discord. Going back to what I was saying a moment ago, what's my brand? That was the word I was looking for. Do I want to grow or flow? I would like to grow, to be perfectly blunt with you. I would like to grow. I think my flow is pretty good. Not that it's perfect. Not that it doesn't need continued daily evolution. But the growth is lacking. So if there is growth to be had, if there is growth potential, I would like for some of that growth to be realized. Please. That's why I want to be able to target the value that you get. I'm not much of a businessman, but I know that is a principle in business. That I'm not really the one who determines what my product is. The people I'm selling to, they're the ones who tell me the value they're getting, and then I optimize for what they're getting out of my product. so that they get what they want. And so I'm trying to apply a business principle like that here and say, from a business perspective, what exactly is the reconsiderate business? Wabbit says, people want to be heard, and sometimes they tap into that. I can believe that. I can believe that. Maybe I'll think about that a little bit, how to tap into that more. The whole idea of like wanting to feel heard, whether you get heard here or you just sort of vicariously feel someone else who feels heard. Milky says, I'm happy with just hearing you express yourself. That's been a lot of my focus. I reflect on that. You know, I've shared my age before. Here it is again. I'm 45 at this time. I am 45 years old. And I've been in music in one form or another. Depending on which parts of my music you count, you could argue for almost like 35 to 40 years being involved in music in one form or another. But as far as the specific project Reconsider It goes, and like doing this, you know, beatbox rap stuff, that I've been doing for, let's say, like 25 years. A little over 25 years. Most of that time has been about expressing myself. This is my private art studio where I can say whatever I want, however I want. That's what most of Reconsider It has been about. But I don't know, it's not about me. You know, the world doesn't revolve around what I want to express. But I would like to be useful in some way. I would like to use my whatever level of skill I have, whatever talent in whatever area I might have it. I would like to humbly use that in a focused manner as a force for good. And so in order to approach that, you have to have some formalized, you know, knowledge or appreciation of all this stuff. And that's not really the way my brain works. You know, my brain is more about the art stuff, the creative flow. I could do that stuff. When I have to make it into a business, I'm like, what? A business? What's that? I'm not much of a businessman by nature. It takes a lot of effort. Wabbit says I should rap comic books. Maybe I could rap some Dr. Seuss. You ever seen people who do that? There are some people who've done that. You can find that on the internet. Really, probably any platform. People have rapped Dr. Seuss. And some of it's dope. Some of it's like, whoa, they really did this well. I see Milky says they have rap coloring books. Adult coloring books are cool. I have some adult coloring books. And by the way, when I say adult coloring books, I don't mean like, you know, adult coloring books. I mean coloring books that are made for the aesthetic coloring enjoyment of people who are adults. I have a couple. They're pretty cool. I don't really spend a lot of time coloring, but in the rare times that I do or that I have, they're pretty cool. I like it personally. Oh, nice. I see the man Warhart is with us. I didn't have any reverb on for that. I still think about that time once in a while where nice greetings. That was a good time. You ever seen the video of Thunder Snow? That's a good video. If you're not familiar with that one, that's a good video to watch. Thunder Snow. I'm still getting caught up on the chat. I'm about 15 minutes behind here. And I still need to go through all of the, like what's in my list of Tinker topics. We only got through the first 2 topics. Or 2 areas of discussion, really, is what they are. I should have known that this would become like the mega hugest, giganticest discussion possible. If we're going into like every topic. Oh well, you know, that's what's happening. Milky says, as far as like what value does this provide, the hangout is a big element of it. See, that's what I was thinking. I have heard some of that feedback. And it looks to me, even without somebody saying it, it looks to me like that's one of the things that might be one of the value areas, is the hangout aspect. So I do try to play that up a little bit. Milky says the hangout is what hooked me in. I'm still getting caught up here. Milky has a Super Metroid related comment. I'm in favor of that. I could play Super Metroid, you know, periodically. You could beat Super Metroid. That's like a one-sitting game. Super Metroid, I haven't played it in a long time. I personally could probably play it in like around 2 to 3 hours, probably. I have got it in under an hour, I think. At least the last save station. I'm not sure whether I can claim to have beaten the entire game in under an hour. But the last save station for sure. But that was years ago. That was back in the 90s when it first came out. Nowadays, if I had to pick it up, I'd probably, like I say, 2 or 3 hours. I still remember it. I still mostly remember that game from recall. Like I could just tell you it now. I remember it mostly. There are some things that I have an absolutely, like, not exactly photographic memory, but extremely sophisticated memory. There are some things that I have like that. Warheart says, what about Final Fantasy VII? Yeah. I stopped playing Final Fantasy VII like 30 hours into it or something. I didn't understand what was going on. I was so lost. I see we have with us Neopop. It's a pretty cool name, actually. There's like 2 or 3 layers of coolness in that name. And also, Neopop was talking about Autiker. Oh man, Autiker's dope. I have an Autiker album. I only have one, but I love it. It's good. It's like an extended version of their album Tri Repite. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they have some kind of extended version of that album, and that's the one I have. I didn't realize it was a special version of the album. I thought it was just the album, but it has this extra whole album, really. It's got like an extra disc. It's got a bunch of... And by the way, if you're not familiar with Autiker, they're like a ambient, droney, electronic type of group. The album I have that I said Tri Repite, if that's how you pronounce it, that's a very worthy listen. That's worth taking an hour to listen to that. There's a lot of good textures in that. I'm still getting caught up on the chat here. Mylogify is talking about the game Celeste. Yeah, Celeste is one of the things I just learned of. when I recently got introduced to Steam. And I played Celeste a little bit. I only played maybe, I don't know, somewhere in the first couple dozen screens. If you're not familiar with Celeste, it's a platformer, a 2D platformer, and it's pretty challenging. It gets pretty challenging pretty fast. And I liked it a lot. I was like, whoa, I can see why this is, getting the accolades. Celeste was dope. I'd like to play it more. Meat Boy is another one that I got introduced to. That's another platformer that gets hard fast. I'm still getting caught up on the chat. I'm almost 10 minutes behind. Wabbit says, the way that I get lit up when I talk about comics, that's something to draw from. I believe you. That might be a way to, I could have maybe a type of live stream or other content that is comics focused, where I talk about comics. Oh, by the way, the new Spider-Man movie came out. It came out just a couple days ago. Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I liked. It wasn't quite like, I'm not going to do any kind of spoiler stuff right now, but it wasn't quite like action-packed in the way that the previous Tom Holland Spider-Man movies were. They were much more about Spider-Man as a character, or Peter Parker, as a character, which was cool, actually. And I guess they are maybe intentionally is the word, intentionally doing a creative reset for Tom Holland's Spider-Man character, bringing him back to this like pensive, reflective guy who can't seem to catch a break. Logify says that I look young. I look like I'm 22. That was probably related to the fact that I ate a vegetarian diet for many years. Around 20 years. Most of that was vegan. And that has a very, not aging you quickly effect. Oh, nice. I see that the man is with us. Wabbit says, going back to those people who rap Dr. Seuss stuff, do they do it while eating saltines? The answer is, I can't imagine they possibly could. Have I talked about the saltine challenge? Have I talked about the saltine challenge? The saltine challenge goes back to like the 80s or the 90s. And it is very simple. The saltine challenge is, first of all, get yourself some saltines, which I have right here. Wabbit brings up saltines as if I don't have them sitting right by my side, ready to go. Get yourself 4 saltines. The challenge is for you to eat those 4 saltines in less than 60 seconds. Or how about this? Within 60 seconds. So if you get a stopwatch and you stop it and it's precisely 60 seconds, like 60.0, exactly 60, then we'll count that. Okay, fine, you get that too. But within 60 seconds, not 60.01 seconds, no. ate 4 saltines in 60 seconds. You cannot drink, You cannot drink anything. You can't eat anything with it. You can't like put something on the saltine. It's just 4 saltines and nothing else. Eat it in 60 seconds. That's the saltine challenge. I believe it can be done, but it's very, very difficult. I'm still getting caught up on the chat here because I'm way behind. I'm 10 minutes behind the chat right here. And I still have another layer I need to make on this beat, so I'm gonna have to go to that at some point. And I still got to get through the rest of the list of Tinker topics. This is jam-packed. We're going to be here for another hour. Maybe not. I'm not. That's not a vow or a promise. Oh, I'm so close to getting caught up on the chat. This is great. It's all within one screen now. I'm so close. My Logify says, yay, 2D games, 2D platformers or whatever. Those are nice sometimes. Yeah, they are. I recently realized that. I grew up with video games. Like when video games first became a thing, that's when I was very, very little. And I think this had a negative impact on my social skills, to be perfectly blunt with you. But I grew up, like, what was I, 7 or 8 or something? When Nintendo came out, the original Nintendo console. And so I got one of those, or more accurately, my generous parents got one for me at age 7 or 8. I played a lot of Nintendo. And then a couple years later, what was it, 3 or 4 years later or something? That's when the Super Nintendo came out. And then N64, and N64 is where they introduced 3D worlds. And so I saw video games sort of grow and develop like that. And I realized in retrospect that I had some, what would you say, like an unspoken assumption that like more sophisticated 3D this or that means better. Oh, there will forever be this like expansion without going backward. Like, why would you ever go do a 2D game? We have these 3D games. 3 is more than 2. Like, there was some subconscious assumption I was making along those lines. But as my Logify says, like, no, man, 2D stuff is good. I love playing some Mario games. That's my jam. I really like for real down with some 2D Mario games. That's awesome. So I like Celeste. I like Meat Boy. And other platformer, like Mega Man. We were talking about Mega Man because of the band Bit Brigade earlier. I love Mega Man games. Those were one of my favorite ongoing series of games back in the day. When I was talking about the Saltine Challenge, my Logify says, is that like the Cinnamon Challenge? Now I'm going to be real with you, my friends. I never took the Cinnamon Challenge. I'm very confident in what would happen if I were to do the Cinnamon Challenge. So I never did it. I'm also not going to eat detergent. I'm confident in what would happen. I don't need to do it. Nick says he got the Switch 2. thought about getting the Switch too, but I didn't know anybody who got it, so I haven't heard any first-hand account, and I haven't gotten it. But Nick says he got Dead Cells. I don't know what that is. Is that some kind of like zombie game? Nick says he also got Castlevania. Somehow I missed Castlevania. Castlevania was an IP that I never got into. I have played Castlevania games, but it just never was one of the things that I was really into. The main Nintendo IP that I got into was Mario and Zelda and Metroid. Those three. But I'm surmising from Nick's comment that he likes it. I haven't heard a lot of awesome things about the Switch 2. I haven't heard bad things. The only bad thing I heard about the Switch 2 was that apparently people weren't happy with the Metroid Prime 4. People thought that was just like a run-of-the-mill game and it wasn't mind-blowingly amazing. That's the worst thing I've heard about Switch 2 so far. Milky says he has a Nintendo DS and a 3DS. I never had those myself. I had a Game Boy Advance. That's it. I think I probably still have that somewhere. Question mark? My Game Boy Advance? On my Game Boy Advance, I had Metroid Fusion. That was pretty good. And I also had the Zelda game where your hat talks to you and you shrink. I forget the name of it. Like your hat isn't really a hat. It's some kind of little like enchanted imp or something. I don't remember it. Milo says he has a Game Boy Advance as well, or had one. Although I never played Pokemon, not even one. Not one Pokemon game ever. I completely missed it. I also missed Harry Potter, which is another thing that affected people that I think Harry Potter and Pokemon were younger than me. That was for people who were like 5 or 10 years younger than me, and so I just missed it completely. Milky says standing up is good. Yeah, rather than just becoming too sedentary. I have had a bunch of health issues in my life for the past maybe like 15 years or so. I've had a bunch of health issues that doctors could not explain, that various forms of therapy kind of like helped with a little bit, but not always and not fully. And it's only recently that it's been revealed to me that many of my issues, maybe most or all, of my bizarre health issues, chronic issues, that they're related to my sedentary lifestyle. Like I've just spent too much time for, 3 decades really, or more. I spent way too much time sitting down, and it has added up, and it has taken a non-trivial toll on my body. In light of that, I'm able to do some things to target undoing that sedentary lifestyle, and they're helping. So, I'm having some success, which I like. But, if you happen to have a sedentary lifestyle, I would say maybe don't. Don't let that add up. I'm fortunate that it added up when I was here in my 40s, because I still have some youth left to heal. If you don't realize that your sedentary lifestyle is hurting your body, if you don't realize that until you're 80 or something, 85, it's like, you'll have so many more decades to undo, and your body needs a lot more to heal. It's healing becomes more of an effort. Nick says he likes Castlevania. He got almost all the Castlevania games. That's how I am with Zelda or Metroid, except I'm out of date with the platforms, so I can't really say that. The furthest Zelda I ever got was, I believe it's called Skyward Sword. It's the one for the Wii. I heard that it's a little awkward. I never played it. I heard that the controls are a little awkward because you have to literally take the Wii controller and like swing it like a sword, I guess, question mark. I never played it. But I never played anything after that. I never played the Zelda for the Wii U or for the Switch or for, Switch 2, or I guess. Milky's saying something that I also relatively recently, have been discovering. I would not say I'm an expert on this, but this is something that I'm at the beginning of being able to recognize as real. Only the very beginning of recognizing this. If you live, like in my case, if I live a sedentary lifestyle, my brain literally reprioritizes which cells need to be strengthened and which muscles even need to be activated or reachable by your nervous system. Your body will for real change, and I'm only beginning to recognize that and understand what that really means on a practical level. But it's very real. So part of what I'm needing to do now is to do different types of therapies and exercises that will retrain my nervous system to recognize that I'm not just sitting still all the time, and my nervous system reactivate different parts of my body and things. So that's real. That's quite real. All right, here's the plan, my friends. I'm looking at the clock. We're at a little over 2 hours. I still have this additional layer here that needs to be... There's nothing in this layer here. This still needs to be made. So I'm going to make that layer. Then after I make that layer, I'm going to go back to the list of tinker topics and finish giving you the very, very high level, what is the range of possible tinker topics. And this isn't meant to be finalized. It's just there's still 4 more that I didn't tell you about. Oh goodness, it's going to go on for a while. Oh, good news. The next one is one we actually already talked about today anyway, which is groupthink. So I guess we have already touched on half of them. I'm going to go and build up this other layer that goes on this bead. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk more. Oh man, what a good, very exciting online hangout this is going to be right now. Let's continue with it. No leg. Milky says, going back to the topic from earlier about just not being totally sedentary with your lifestyle because it adds up and does damage to your body. That whole topic from earlier. Milky says, even just doing something like calf raises. I agree. Like really anything. Anything is better than nothing. That's the attitude I take. It's like you're probably not gonna perfectly target every single need of your entire body with some simple 5-minute exercise. But doing that simple 5-minute exercise is for sure better than not doing that 5-minute exercise. That's something that, earlier we were talking about biases, psychological biases, and ways that your mind tricks you. That's one. Is that sometimes people say like, oh, well, it's not completely doing everything, so I'm not going to bother. Do the little thing. Do the little easy thing. The little easy low-cost thing that has more than zero benefit. Do it. Why not do something that has a benefit? Well, it didn't totally do everything. Hey, I'm gonna put a lock on this. Yeah, but somebody could pick the lock. Yeah, they could, you're right. But you know what kind of protection is it going to give me? It's going to give me a lot more than zero. It's worth it. Even though somebody could pick the lock, yes. But you know how much more protection you'll get, even though it's not absolutely 100% totally, completely impenetrable. Things that are short of 100% impenetrable are still worth doing. And so, yes, I agree. Calf raises, do them. I do a modified version of calf raises. I do like calf holds, and then I do squats. And I do that one to try to strengthen the muscles on the soles of my feet. I have a lot of very, very specifically tailored exercises that I do. I've had to do a lot of physical therapy. My chronic issues were really bizarre. As I said, no physicians I talked to could explain it or help me. They were like, I don't know, this is weird. All right, bye. I'm like, hey, wait, I still need... They're like, all right, let me know if you need anything. I'm like, I do. And they're like, goodbye. So, that was my experience. I mostly had to just figure everything out on my own. P.S. AI has helped me a lot in that regard. I'm getting caught up on the chat. I see right now that Davey is with us, which is good. Mylogify says, hey, listen, even if you can just do a couple of push-ups, it keeps your blood flowing. Now, I would agree with that, although I would also want to explore more of what exactly it means to keep your blood flowing. You could literally mean blood circulation, although in my case, that would do a lot more than just blood circulation. That would also keep those muscles active. That would have an impact on my nervous system. so that my nervous system knows to keep those areas energized. There's also a muscle strengthening element to that, or at least a muscle maintenance, because push-ups aren't that bad. You know, as long as you are at the point that you can do a few, they're not hard. They're not hard. I mean, you could just, like, wherever you are, you could just do it. You don't need equipment to do push-ups. You could use equipment. I have the perfect push-ups. You ever seen those? You ever seen the perfect push-up handle? I have those. Those are cool. I like those. I've heard mixed opinions about those. Milky says that squats are another fave, which I would agree with. Squats are part of my daily routine. I do them in a very specific way, but they are just basic squats. So I would agree with that. Once in a while, I don't do it every day. Once in a while, I do just like a basic dumbbell, or I'm not dumbbell, I'm sorry, what are they called? Kettlebell. A sort of kettlebell swing, where you just, go like this. I realize it's not a great angle to see. This is not the gym stream. So, we have still got the other topics. What are the other Tinker topics? So as a refresher from earlier, I'm just going to very briefly summarize. I said earlier that I had made 2 very long, very verbose lists of things to talk about, themes for Tinker Time discussions. And I had an AI assistant condense it all and summarize it concisely. And there were 6 main areas of discussion which have overlap. Earlier, we talked about 3 of them. Earlier on this stream, we talked about 3 of them. One of them was the idea of, like, do you really know something if you just read about it in some book, or you did your own research online? That's not really knowing something. So that was one area of discussion. Another area of discussion was the idea that you can't really claim to have objective judgment of things. You have all sorts of biases and subjectivity, and you should be humble about that, because that affects everybody. You can't, like, do some discipline and then not have subjectivity anymore. You always have subjectivity. So you need a humility to counterbalance it. That was another general area of discussion. Another general area of discussion is groupthink, which I did talk about, and right now you can still see the pinned comment, at least on YouTube here. The pinned comment is the most recent rap song I've done, full length, multiple verses, a chorus. the most recent full-length rap song I've done, which is about groupthink. It's about being manipulated by social media and, being crazed into hating your family members. So that's another area of discussion. But then we have 3 more areas that I didn't talk about yet. And so what do we got? One of them is the idea of responsibility. And so if Wabbit is still here, Wabbit just made a video, what was it, yesterday or maybe even earlier today? The crazy Wabbit. He just made a video in response to something I asked him like 3 or 4 days ago, which was about exactly this topic, this next Tinker topic of taking responsibility, helping to make the world a better place rather than just complaining. The world is fragile. The world is held up by like a few strong people who do the right thing and they, take responsibility and they fix problems and they work hard even if you'd rather sit around and play. And so that's another area of discussion here, is that it is not the case that any given individual needs to work themselves into burnout and always be responsible all the time for everything. Like, that's not what it is. But it's more like each individual should be taking just full-blown top-to-bottom responsibility for some things. Even if it's just your own private life, Everyone has to take responsibility for something in order for the world to work. There's a lot of daddy issues going around in the world these days. A lot of rebelliousness. A lot of I don't trust the man and so I'm gonna, and all of this. We need to branch off and make our own splinter society. No, we need people helping to make the world a better place. There's only one world. There's only one everything. So that's another broad area of discussion. Just this idea that you are not responsible for everything, but there are some things that you should take responsibility for. Partly because if you don't, no one else will, but also partly because that's what it means to be a human. Like, you're not an animal. You gotta have some level of discipline to get through life. And my point, the real point of this discussion topic is the world is fragile. That's what the real point is. And if people as a whole don't take responsibility, then the world falls apart. That's what this topic is. And that's the one that, by the way, Wabbit made a recent video on. It was like a 10-minute video or something. I linked to it in my posts on my channel, so you can see it there if you want. But Wabbit was talking about this a little bit. So, being responsible, taking responsibility. That's another area. We have 2 more areas. And that is, one is spirituality, which I love. And that partly means Torah, the Holy Torah. But, I don't really talk about Torah that much on my live streams. I instead talk about, the soul and reincarnation and, extra dimensions to reality and how to manipulate your own future by using your imagination and like that kind of topic. So that's another big area of discussion. And then one additional area of discussion was on the idea of speaking skills, public speaking, whether that's on a live stream or like giving a presentation at work or something. And that's an area where I happen to have professional expertise. That's not just opinions and, oh, here I'm the armchair philosopher. No, when it comes to speaking, I'm quite professionally accomplished. I've done a few streams that were dedicated to those topics. So that's another big area of discussion for Tinker Topics. And there's more too, like comic books wasn't listed there, but that's another area. Milo brings up this idea of lucid dreaming. I may have actually read that specific book. I've read lucid dreaming topics a fair amount. I've tried it. I cannot do it on command. I have had lucid dreams. I like them. I wish I could do them on command. Ninko has the big compliment here that says, man, it sounds like you can speak. Well, thank you. Yes, some people have heard my spiel already, but I have, I think I can claim over 25 years experience as an educator. And for the past more than 15 years, I have been involved with, being an educator myself and speaker on a very, variety of topics, technical things, software-based things. That's what I train and I speak on. But also another thing I do is I train other people on how to talk and how to speak properly in a presentation or education context. And also applies for anything else, leading a meeting or whatever. So I have trained people how to do that for over 15 years. And at this point, I've trained, I've coached one-on-one or otherwise supported many hundreds of people. It may be in the thousands, ? But certainly at least many hundreds of people that I've coached. I've given them feedback. I work with people to sort of ratchet up their skill set. So as I say, I happen to have an extensive professional expertise in the area of public speaking, being an educator, those sorts of things, communication in general, leading a productive meeting, that kind of stuff. I've considered writing a book or multiple books on those things because I have actually. I have literally written books on these things for my organization that I work with. For the trainings that I've given, I've written books on these topics. But those aren't public books, So I've thought about writing a book that I could publish and maybe sell, but I part of me feels a little defeated, like it wasn't that easy to be an artist. You don't just make an album and then sell it. So I'm a little worried about just making a book. Oh, that'll get it published and then it'll sell, right? I don't know. There's enough books out there. I would need to really have something in terms of content, which I do. As I say, I've helped many hundreds of people. Everybody I work with say they level up at least a little bit. So I know how to do it, but the question is, could I put it into a book that other people would look at and find useful? I know how to coach people, but would that come through in a book? I don't know. And furthermore, do I have the professional network to get it published, to get it, marketed? I don't really want to put a ton of effort into something that's going to go nowhere. Davey says, I have shyness. I experience shyness and stage fright. Shyness and stage fright, which sometimes surprises the people that I coach. Sometimes the people I coach, they see me give a presentation and they're like, oh my goodness, you're the most inspiring speaker I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe that you have nervousness. And I'm like, well, I do. And sometimes when I coach people on shyness, one of the things, this isn't like a magic solution that works for everyone, but sometimes in some situations for some people, when I coach them on shyness, one of the things, this is almost like a moving experience that almost makes you want to cry kind of type of thing, because this really helps people sometimes. But anyway, sometimes when I'm coaching people on on managing their shyness, not like I'm going to coach you to not be shy. No, you're probably going to still feel shy, but I can help you to manage the shyness. One of the things that sometimes helps people is I give them permission to just, lean into expressing their natural strengths, which is unique for everyone. So it's usually like per coaching relationship, I can sort that out and I can start telling people what their strengths are. But when I start telling people to lean into their strengths, sometimes for some people it can be really powerful. For some people it's like, most of the people I work with are at least in their 30s or 40s. Sometimes they're mid to late 20s, but usually 30s, 40s or older are the people I work with and I coach. I guess these days it does skew younger. Mid to late 20s and 30s. Maybe that's more the clientele these days. In any case, if it were somebody who's like, let's just say 30, you don't have to necessarily be that far advanced in your years. Even if I'm working with someone who's like 30 years old, and I'm like, oh, you're so good at this. Did anybody ever tell you you're so good at this? You should lean into this harder. You're so skilled here. Sometimes it comes out that somebody told them, like they had an experience, like when they were 8, like somebody told them, don't do that. And they like develop this complex about it, and they feel, embarrassed or ashamed of themselves. And it's really moving when I get to be there with someone and I get to tell them that. And I'm like, you're so good at this. You're so skilled. And one of the things that people tell me about when I coach them, that they tell me is particularly powerful about working with me, like uniquely me, is that I can explain for them in a technical manner why they're talented. Like, oh, that thing you're doing is so good because you do this and this and this, and this part is really skilled and it has this impact, and that's why it's so good. So it's not just that I'm telling them, oh, I liked it was nice. No, I'm like, you captivated the audience using this specific technique that speaks to this psychological bias, and I can explain it all to them. And it makes people believe me when I tell them that they're good at something. By the way, who's with us? Absurd TV! Oh, it's so good. So, anyway, I like when I get to tell somebody that they should do something that they're skilled at and they're talented at, and it somehow dislodges something for them. Like, as I say, that they had some teacher or their father or somebody or whoever told them back in age 7 not to do this talent of theirs, and they had this complex. And then working with me, I get to untie that knot, and they get to, frankly, like, to be perfectly blunt with you, when that kind of dynamic arises, the person suddenly becomes very noticeably good. Because it's a talent that they've been trying to hide, and I'm giving them permission to not hide it. They suddenly become awesome, like visible to other people who aren't professional coaches and look at this stuff with a microscope like I do. But just like to their colleagues, they just suddenly, they glow a little more. They're like really rocking it when they go give that presentation. They're really nailing it a little more. And it's because they're letting loose with something that they're good at. And so that's I would say that's a privilege of mine, that I get to be in that position. Nenko says, what's the most common error in speech? And then Nenko says, what about filler words? Like saying, people do that a lot. That is a very common thing. But that's not as impactful as most people think. It is true. Like, you're never going to hear me say that filler words are good. They can serve a purpose. There are some speakers who are like so legendary at language that they can actually use filler words for the purpose of making you feel comfortable with them. And so there is a way to use filler words in a skillful manner, but just generally day to day, especially if you're given a presentation, you're generally not going to hear me say that filler words are good. So, I mean, we're definitely going to agree on that. But it's not as big of a deal as many people think. Sometimes if I'm working with someone who doesn't really do a lot of coaching like I do, but they, want to give somebody feedback on a presentation, they'll start with filler words. They'll be like, you said, look at how helpful I am. I'm giving you actionable feedback. You can just stop saying, It's not really that bad. It is possible for somebody to have too much filler words that I would have to comment on it, but that's rare. Normally, I'll just say, yeah, your filler words are and sorta. Just FYI, you'll chip away at that over time. It's better to just like know that the filler words are there. Oh, for me it's for me it's sorta. That way you slowly become aware of them over time, and then you slowly start reining it in. If you try to stop saying filler words, period, you're just going to give yourself a complex. Because filler words are a normal part of how your brain processes language. So it is best to not have filler words, yes, but it's also extremely high level. There are very few like skill levels on which I would expect somebody to not have filler words. And it does exist. I have some colleagues who are just like absolutely amazing speakers, and for them, I expect them to not have filler words. But it's rare. We're talking like one in, not even 1 in 100, 1 in 500 or something. It's very rare to have that level of or 1 in 1,000 even, to have that level of speaking skill, to not have filler words. So anyway, to answer Nanko's question, what is the biggest issue? The biggest issue is part of what I talk about when I talk about speaking topics. You can see I have a playlist on my page if you want to go look at my live streams that I did that are on the topic of speaking. But what is the biggest issue that I'm coaching people on? There are 2 biggest issues, but the number one, like the real number one biggest issue, is assuming that your audience knows why you're giving the presentation. Or if not presentation, then the discussion, the brainstorm, the class, whatever is the thing is that you're leading. It's assuming that it's really, really obvious to your audience or your class or whoever that they know what the area of focus is. We're all here, isn't it obvious? It's not obvious. You got to tell them. That is the one thing, the single variable that makes the difference between really amazing, inspiring speaker versus, yeah, that was okay. The one thing is that the speaker constantly tells you how to contextualize the material. And it's like blatant plain English, but you don't think of it as that. You think the speaker is just talking to you, but it's actually technique, and they're telling you how to think of it. Like right now, I am not doing this technique here on this live stream. I'm not doing this like contextualizing. But if I were, I would say something like, as I talk to you now about all of this, you're getting a little empowered with the fact that you're seeing what the most relevant thing is. So now you're allowing yourself on some level, you're allowing yourself to have filler words because I just gave you permission and I said filler words aren't that big of a deal. And you're starting to see a little bit how what really matters is that you tell your audience like what to think and how to think of the topic you're telling them. This is very empowering for you because now it enables you to have more powerful conversations and more powerful discussions you might lead. I would be talking like that. I would be telling you that the thing you're hearing is helping you. That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing for sure that people need coaching on. Most people just get up there and start talking and they assume that you know why they're talking at you. But that's almost never the case. Almost never. It's very, very rare that your audience completely knows exactly why you're talking at them. And one of those cases would be something like, okay, we have to evacuate the building because there's a fire on the second floor. Like that would be the case where the audience knows exactly why you're talking at them. And you don't need to explain, okay, friends, we're here because there's a fire and you need safety. So they know that. But outside of an urgent situation like that, your audience, they do not know. You have to tell them, I'm here to help you get to safety. I'm still getting caught up on the chat right now. I'm about 10 minutes behind. But we've had really dope, like, this has been such a dope Tinker stream today. I'm happy that I brought up the list and I could just sort of run through it and it sparked all sorts of side conversations. That's perfect. That's perfect. This is like an ideal Tinker stream today. Very good. I'm still just getting caught up on the chat here though. This is the most entertaining part of the stream for you as I get caught up on the chat. Something I said was relatable. That's good. I like that. Davey says, I don't really care about other people's judgments. That's a strong part of my personality as well. It's done me a mixture of good and bad. It's done a lot of good for me in terms of my personal expression and my own, like, uniquely crafting my own tailor-made path in life. But it's also done some bad in that it has had, let's say, like a social isolating impact on me. Because even though I don't really care what other people think, which is true, I don't. And it's not like, look at how cool I am. I don't care. It's like I don't even think about it. You know, it's part of my. It's deeper than my personality, but it's part of just like how I approach things in a fundamental manner. Other people's Johns is not really one of the variables I consider. But in retrospect, here in my 40s, in retrospect, I see that that's actually pretty detrimental socially, to be so socially isolated. Because even though I don't care, other people care that I don't care. And so therefore that relationship gets damaged. And that damaging of the relationship, that's not good. And so, I agree. I don't really care what other people think, but in some ways it's good, but in some ways that's detrimental. One of my life lessons is learning how to manage that. And that's really difficult. For me, that's a very, very difficult lifelong challenge. I really do not care what other people think, but it absolutely limits me in a very significant, tangible way. I see we have a Monty Python reference. That's good. I like Monty Python. I'm not a Monty Python cultist. There absolutely are Monty Python cultists. I do not think Monty Python is the single greatest thing that has ever existed on Earth. But they're good. I think Monty Python is like overwhelmingly, if you weigh the pros and cons of Monty Python, the strengths and their shortcomings, Monty Python is one of the rare things that exist in our shared culture that is overwhelmingly positive. Monty Python is not always funny, but when it's funny, it's like, oh my goodness, this is real humor here. Oh my goodness, this is proper hilarious. Monty Python has some real gold, even though also has some duds. I don't have no idea what this is talking about, but I'm happy to find this in the chat. What else? I'm still getting caught up. I'm 5 minutes behind. Okay, this is good. I'm getting closer. We have some discussion around French in the chat. I do not speak French. There had been like very brief periods in my life where I knew a couple of words, a couple of sentences, but I don't have any real appreciation of French grammar or vocabulary. I do not speak French. I have studied Spanish. I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I know enough Spanish that I could read something you hand to me. I could probably read most of it. I could communicate well enough. I'm a little slow with listening and speaking, but I'm really good with reading and writing. So Spanish I'm pretty comfortable with. Not fluent, but pretty comfortable. I've studied some German, so I have appreciation of German grammar, but my German vocabulary is very small. I don't really know a lot of German, although I've studied it. And then Hebrew, so I can read Torah. I can read Hebrew, really just the passages I'm reading. If you give me something new in Hebrew, I can sometimes read it, and I get very excited when I can. But other times I'm like, whoa, what is that? So I read Hebrew for Torah study, and that's it. Not modern Hebrew, but only biblical Hebrew. I know almost nothing about modern Hebrew. I didn't realize this. Davey says, I was exposed to a bunch of languages. I know that in Europe, you guys in general have a lot more language cross-pollination and such than in the United States. I know in Europe it's pretty common for people to know 2, 3, 4 languages. Whereas in the United States, if somebody knows 2 languages, people are like, whoa, you know a second language? Oh my goodness, wow. And it's like the record scratches, the record stops, the party comes to a crashing halt. Like, oh my goodness, this person knows 2 languages? Whoa. Everybody flocks around. Oh my goodness, you know 2 languages? Meanwhile, I know in Europe, if that's the case, it'd be like, you only know 2? That's it. I don't really use my Spanish. I would like to, but I just don't really have the opportunity day to day, so it doesn't get used very much. I like to tell the story of how I visited Berlin, Germany, after having studied German. And when I got to Berlin, I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to have the opportunity to practice my German. Yay! I don't normally have the chance to practice German, but I'm going to have it now as I go to Berlin. Yes! And I was very excited about it. But then when I got to Berlin, and I would go into some store or something, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a sandwich. Here we go. I go into the store and I'm like, German, 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 German. And the person would just kind of look at me for a second and kind of sigh a little and then just start speaking to me in American English. And I'd be like, damn, damn it. There was only one or two times that I spoke with somebody in Berlin and they didn't speak English. So we really had to converse in German. That only happened, literally one or two times. I was there for a week. I was there for over a week, actually. So I would have liked to have practiced my German more, but I think the truth is my German was not very good, and my German right now is even less exercised. So I don't think I could do a very good job at it. Davey has some Spanish. I like all of this language-related discussion because I like languages in general. That's a topic, just the idea of grammar, the idea of communication. It's a big thing for me in general in life. I once had somebody characterize me as a mediator. She claimed that was like a fundamental view of who I am functionally, socially. Like what do I do when I'm with people? What do I do? What function do I serve? What do I perform? She characterized me as a mediator. Meaning I can act as a go-between to help other people understand each other. Which involves some language skill. Because not everybody has language skills. If you didn't know that. Wow, look at Davey. Davey speaks 4 languages fluently. Whoa. Is this true? What Mylogify says? Is this true? That there's a lot of sighing that happens in Germany and Switzerland? I don't recall that when I visited Berlin. But maybe. Maybe it did and I just didn't notice it. Davey says, Germans are more language open than the French. If you don't speak it fluently, don't even try. Do you mean if you don't speak French fluently, don't try to speak it in France? Is that what you say? Is that what you mean? If so, that matches my experience. I visited Paris once. I had a terrible experience. I hated it. I was in Paris for about a week. A little less than a week. It was actually the same trip as the Berlin trip. That was, Milo says, when did I go on that trip? That was just before the pandemic. It was a little before the pandemic. Like a year or two before the pandemic, I think. Nanko says, Paris is not France. Paris does not represent all of France. I could believe you there. I could definitely believe you there. But that's the only place I went. And I had a very bad experience. They were very rude to me. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I was shocked with how rude they are. Like, they refused to serve me. You know, they let other people just like talk over me, and they didn't care. They showed real disdain when they saw that I was not able to speak French. I tried to speak French, but I was really bad at it. And when my French didn't work, I switched. I was like, how about Spanish? You know, I speak Spanish. German. I speak more German than French. Can we talk in German? There was one time actually where I went to a restaurant to eat, and they seated me, but then they ignored me for like 45 minutes or an hour, and they just wouldn't even serve me. Like, they were walking by me, they were serving the tables next to me, and they just wouldn't serve me. I was like, oh my goodness, are you for real? Is this really happening? This level of like passive aggressive, spiteful rudeness, is this actually occurring? And the answer is yes, it was. And I experienced it for a week straight. It wasn't everyone in Paris, but it was enough. It was more than half of the people in Paris. I had a terrible time. I don't want to ever go back. I don't want to ever go back. Milo says he has good times in Germany. Yeah, my experience in Berlin was the total opposite. Berlin was awesome. I could see myself living in Berlin. I was there for over a week, and I had almost nothing but good experiences. It was a very, very good time. That was back when I was still vegan, by the way. And so one of the things I was looking for was like, can I get vegan food here? And Germany was very vegan friendly. Or I should say Berlin. I didn't go all throughout Germany, just Berlin. It was very vegan friendly, which I was surprised by, but that was cool. I'm not vegan or even vegetarian these days, but that's still cool. I was not able to eat vegetarian in Paris, and I was not surprised by that. Everything had ham or eggs or, you know, cheese all over the place. I tried snails and frog legs when I was there. I had never eaten those before. Snails was okay. Frog legs was pretty plain and ordinary. But Berlin was awesome. I just had nonstop awesome experiences in Berlin. The only thing I did not experience in Berlin was good beer. And to this day, I'm surprised by that. Almost 10 years ago. I live in a beer snobby place. And so I have a lot of beer snobby opportunities. And I myself have had a lot of beer snobby experiences. Oh, let me try this beer. This one is subtly, oh, look at that beer. Oh, look at the color on that. Yes, the body on this beer. I don't consider myself a beer snob. I'm not that picky. But I do have clear beer preferences. and I know that there is a palette. But when I went to Berlin, it was like I couldn't get. Everything was like a white beer, and that was kind of it. I was like, what? There were some places that had other options, so I was sometimes able to get something decent. But most of the time, it was like there were no options, and the options that I found were not good. Frankly, it was I did not have a good beer experience. That was the only negative of Berlin, was that they didn't live up to my beer expectations. Which is different. Like that's not necessarily a fault. You know, that's not a problem. It wasn't like something bad happened. I just didn't have my expectations met. Which, by the way, that should be another topic for Tinker Streams. Being able to tell the difference between not having your personal expectations met versus something bad happening. Some people can't tell the difference between the two. And it's kind of not okay. It's actually kind of toxic if you can't tell the difference between the two. Oh, I didn't get what I wanted. Yeah, so? Shut up. Most of the time, most people are not getting what they want. And you have to be okay with that when it's your turn to not get what you want. Nenko says, oh, goodness, please go anywhere else, just anywhere else in France, just not Paris. Paris is not France. I believe you. I believe you. Me and Milo are twins in this way. I also speak more German than French. I don't speak a lot of German, but I speak almost zero French. Nenko says that Paris gives France a bad image. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be very real with you about this. There was at least 2 levels of shock with the rudeness I got in Paris. 2 levels of shock that I experienced upon receiving all of that rudeness. One level of shock was just, oh man, they're really rude. There's some rude experiences. I'm shocked by how rude this is. That was one level of shock. But the other level of shock was like, this is the Paris stereotype. Like, I'm shocked at how these people are just living in the stereotype. It was very shocking to me. I was like, please show a little bit of awareness. But, I don't know. I felt very hated. I felt like I was some disgusting, vermin. It was not cool. I did not at all feel welcome. I didn't like it. And keep in mind, this is like almost 10 years ago. I still feel that way. After just being there for 6 days. That was a bad experience. As far as mild first world experiences go, Mild first world experiences. That was probably the worst trip I've ever been on in terms of how the culture made me feel. Yeah, that was not good. Nenko has some suggestions regarding how to eat snails and frogs in a proper way. I wish I had your advice back then. Both meals I got were just kind of like a quick little slap together rushing thing. I wasn't like a full proper oh, this place is known for their frog legs. Let's go to the place that does frog legs really well. That's not what it was. It was just, oh yeah, I'll just get this off the menu. Milo says, oh, I thought Milo said that he himself had just had some snails. Woo, breathalyzer is with us. Yes. Milky says, I like IPA. I don't. I know a lot of people do. IPAs are popular. I don't like IPAs. I like things that are in the range of a stout or what's the other dark beer? A stout or a porter. Stout and porter. It's rare that I have a beer. I don't really like beer. It's heavy, you know. But if I were to have a beer, I would get either a stout or a porter, whatever they have on the menu. And in the realm of stout and porters, I'm not terribly picky. But I don't like IPAs. I don't really like other ales, like a red ale. I'm probably not going to have a red ale. Or a Weissbier. I'm not going to have one of those. Anything that's bitter, anything that's hoppy. Milky talks about cider. I'm down with hard cider. I'm down with that. I'm down with just like hard versions of drinks in general. Sometimes people make a hard lemonade, hard root beer. You ever had a hard root beer? I'm down with those kinds of things. I'm still getting caught up on the chat here. I see we're over 3 hours. We should probably start bringing it home. This is on the longer side, but man, what a good Tinker stream this is today. So many good topics. So many good opinions. My favorite part of Tinker Stream is when you put things in the chat and influence where things go. That's the best part of Tinker Stream. Milky says, I camped around France. Really? I like camping. I'm down with camping. As long as it's safe. What the? Milky says he had a pizza with a raw egg. A raw egg? A raw egg. Like you just cracked it open and put it on the pizza. And it wasn't cooked. It's not that they made the pizza and then cracked a raw egg on it and then they went and cooked it. No, they cooked it first and then they brought it to your table and then they put a raw egg on it? Is that what it was? Man. I don't know if I'd want that. I don't want a raw egg. I like a fried egg. So if they cracked the egg on the pizza and then just cooked it in the oven with the egg on it, I'd be open to trying that, I guess. Milky says it turned his stomach. All right, we're on the same page. I don't want the raw egg. Friends. Friends, as I say, this is such a good stream today. We are at 3 hours. I could keep going, but I think at 3 hours we gotta let you have some time back in your day here. Friends, the time has come for our closing cheers moment. Time has come for your closing cheers. This is great. Grab a drink, my friends. Our togetherfulness transcends space and time. Whether you are here with us live in the chat, or you're here with us live but you're not in the chat, or you're joining us after the live, however it is that you are here with us, my friends. On 3, we are going to experience the most unifying togetherfulness anyone has ever togetherfuled. It is going to be so fulfilling and euphoric. Friends, it comes on 3, beginning on 1, 2, 1. Clink. Cheers, Mom. my friend. Oh man, that is nice. That is the good stuff that I like. Please like this video. Friends, I hope to see you in the next live stream. My regulars know that we get together multiple times a week here on your favorite online hangout. Sometimes the stream is like today, where we got the loopers, got the hardware, making some loops, vocals only, bringing the synth, we talk about stuff. Sometimes it's tinker time. Other times when we stream, other times we're taking the loops from the loopers, mixing them in a DAW session. Also good, whatever it is, whatever kind of content it is. On a Recon live stream, man, it's a good time. My regulars know that we have these scheduled weekly streams. The weekly hangout every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern U.S. time zone. You can put that in your calendar. And my regulars know that we also got a whole bunch more as well. We got additional streams through the week. It could be any day, any time. Enable notifications now so that you can join us for those unscheduled streams. And until then, my friends, until then, please have a very good rest of your day today. Please allow the rest of your day today to bring you all manner of goodness and blessing today. Please allow yourself to become receptive today. Please allow your horizons to expand today. Please become more than when you gained awareness today. Please experience increased profitability today. Please experience and receive miraculous healing today. And I will see you in the next Reconsider It live stream. Thank you.